In part 2 today of assembling this cardstock folio, we're going to be working on the cover and the first couple of pages. So let's get started. We'll begin by turning it over, and we're going to use the very last page of the pack, which has the advertisement, on this side. We're going to be using this side here for our cover and the back of our journal, and because you really can't use this side, so that's why I chose that. And I also chose it because it's a smaller design that's probably going to help our image to stand out better than something that would be very busy. And we're going to be using some of these images here in front as well as we go along. Now, I have used almost every single scrap inside this pad because you don't get that much with an 8x8 as you would by a 12x12. You have more to work with. So I asked you in the supply list to supplement with a couple of colors, a cardstock that has a neutral shade that you felt went well, and one that is a color that you liked to highlight. So I've chosen these two things here, and we're going to be using these in our cover here. So let me give you a look at that really fast of what we're shooting for. So we have the two colors and our image here in the center. Now I chose the image from the tag page. There is a tag page here, and I chose one of these images, and of course you can choose any image you would like, and I just happened to choose the lady, but they all look really great. So that's where I got the image, and I'm mounting it on two pieces of chipboard because I love that dimension look. I think it's really makes it stand out so nicely. I cut my paper, my colored paper, 2 3/4 by 4 1/4 inch, so that it sits in here with a little bit of a frame, like so. And I distressed the edges there. And I cut a piece of chipboard for the colored page. And now we need to cut a piece of chipboard for our image. Now, like I said, I think in the beginning, if you do not have chipboard, you could use a food package, cardboard, like the cereal box, but I would double it up. I would use 2 of these glued together for 1 of these, just to give it a little bit more dimension to it. And so I'm just going to come in here with my pencil, and I'm going to mark the perimeter where I want to cut. And I'm going to use this metal ruler to come here and slice it off. Now, if you do not have a self-healing mat, you can use a piece of glass, like perhaps from an old picture frame or something like that that you got at a thrift store, or I don't know if the dollar store picture frames have glass anymore, but they used to. But you can cut on that as well with your craft knife. And so now we have this here. Now what you'll want to do too is you'll want to tone down this color here so you don't see it. I'm using the Distress ink of Tim Holtz Gathered Twigs, but if you have just any kind of a black or brown ink, it could be permanent ink, it can be whatever, that would be great. And we'll just want to tone down that shade a little bit. And now we are ready to mount this together. So we'll just use this glue here. Probably could have used glitter glue, but I am using Faber Tack. And I know I hate covering that up. Isn't that great? That's the only thing about working with scrapbook paper is there's these two sides. You constantly have to battle with yourself. So there's that part, and we'll go ahead and we'll glue this part here on to that piece of chipboard. Now, I mentioned about getting some little gears for decoration, but if you don't do a lot of steampunk, you may feel like, wow, I don't want to invest a whole bunch into gears if I'm not going to use them. So you know, really in the end, just having this dimension, I think, is pretty cool. I think that really by itself sets it off nicely. You might have charms like this key charm or some kind of charm that goes with your theme. And you could have, before I glued it together, you could have put in an eyelet and hung, oh, I haven't glued it together. You could put an eyelet in there and hang this in there with a jump ring or with a bulb pin or something like that. And that would look really nice all by itself, just to have, you know, something like this. I mean, that looks very attractive. So you wouldn't have to have gears. You could also do another idea that I am working on. And let's see, where did I set that? Let me just step over here. I'm sorry. I should have that right in front of me, but I don't. I am working on this fall themed folio with the same concept I am working with this. And I have these die cuts. See, I have die cuts that I felt went with my theme. And so I would die cut one out of cardstock, and then I would die cut another cardstock and glue them together to make them, you know, rather firm so they're not flimsy. And you can do that if you had something that you felt went with your theme and glue that in between. So those are just a couple ideas for you to think about if you don't happen to have gears. The only thing you may want to avoid if you are gluing in between here are really heavy, thick looking charms. Because then it really would pop up the corners a little bit too much. So you want something that is very flat. And these are real flat. And these are cheap. I'm sure I got these on Amazon. It's been a while, but I didn't pay a lot for them. But if you just kind of go to a craft store and look where they have Tim Holtz products or, you know, that type of thing, I'm sure you can find something that's flat. And so we are just going to, oops, I see a little bit here. It didn't quite get glued down. So let's get them here on the edge. There we go. So we're just going to arrange our little guides here the way we like them. And I'm probably going to copy what I have here. So we have one of these, and it goes on the bottom. One of these here. Maybe I have some smaller ones. I like having the different sizes. Those are kind of nice as well. So I think maybe we'll just arrange them over here in a pleasing way that we like. Just have them hang off a bit. There, and once we get that kind of determined the way we like it, I can just put in, I'm going to hold them down and put in some glue just to kind of get them together. And this glue is Fabri-Tac, which I think glues quite well, metals and that type of thing, but whatever kind of glue you got that'll go with it. Let me just put a little bit more glue here. I'm just trying to get this set up to glue behind the first layer like this. Okay, there we go. Alrighty. So there's the first layer. And then we'll come down. I want to use this big open one because I'm going to hang a charm on it. So we'll just hang this down here like so. So I got the whole back is glued now, and it is a little fiddly, I have to say, when you're dealing with more than one image, one shape. Got all these different gears. But once you have everything in place, now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to place something heavy on this for a little while underneath a book or something that has some weight to it so that it can set and dry and lay as flat as it possibly can. So we're going to want to do that. Oops, I'm going to need that to come down a little bit more than that for my charm. There we go. So we'll just put that underneath something heavy. All right, now let's look at our cover. And of course, I inked around it. You don't have to. But I am going to glue on the front page here. So if you're going to put anything with brads to hold, you'll want to do this now. So I'm going to put in this nameplate, file plate or whatever, like so. I'm going to open it up, and what I did is I lined it up just about where I wanted it, and I marked it here with a pencil, a couple places there, and then I'm going to put my holes in. And I have a really small, very small, I think it's like 1/4 of an inch hole punch. I love it. I use it all the time. I'm going to put those two in there like so, and put in our brads. Okay, yeah. And I did think about speeding this up, but it's an awful lot of editing for me to just speed up little portions. So I'm a little on a time crunch, so I'm not speeding this up. So bear with me as I get these in there. So yeah, that's what you'll want to do. You'll want to put this in before you decorate this page. I like to put tape over brads because it kind of helps the next layer not be so bumpy. It also helps these brads to stay in place. So there's that, and the reason why I'm not putting the ribbons on is here I put it on before I finished, and I see that one of the tabs are just a little bit in the way of the ribbon. And it's not terribly awful because these are pretty stiff, but it would be better to set everything on here at the end so you can arrange your ribbons where they need to be. But I am not putting on the back because we have to put a ribbon underneath that. And oh, okay, we got one more thing to do with this. Let's see, it's dried now. This is all dried. Now we're going to cut a piece that's 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. And I'm cutting this out of the neutral shade that I had chosen. And I'm going to tear around it a little bit. Just take off, you know, the very edge, no more than 1/4 of an inch around the edges. Just a little tearing. I like to hand tear rather than use a ruler for some things, just because it looks a little bit more uneven, a little bit, you know, more haphazard, like the way paper would get torn over time. And come to the end of this. Alrighty. And of course I want to distress it a little bit all the way around. I'm using gathered twigs, Tim Holtz Gathered Twigs Distress Ink. And then I also asked that you kind of gather some papers that you may have laying around, stuff with print, stuff with music, whatever you may have in your scrap bags. And we'll just tear out, I'm going to do a tear piece that is just on the inside of this brown piece, and yet I want the brown to show, but I want the print to show just a little bit, kind of peek out. Yeah, kind of like that. And then we'll just come down here and finish out the tear. There. Just something like this. That's what I'm after. So all these little extra sheets of prints and papers and that type of thing really helps. Not only does it help the pad to go longer, but it does kind of break up the matchy-matchy a little bit. Just a little bit. Though I don't mind much. Don't mind matchy-matchy too much, just I like it to break it up just a tad. And so then here is our cover. And I will be putting this on here, and then I will be gluing this layer to here. I'm not going to do that now because I don't want to take up your time with that, but that's how that'll look. And I'm putting this setting it aside along with the back portion, and we will work on that at another time. All right, now we're going to go and move into the first 2 pages. Now, I spent a lot of time kind of going over this pad to see how can I be creative with it. How can I use it? I did the same with the last Stamperia tutorial I did. And this is what I'm about to do throughout here are ideas that I came up with. Now, you can take or leave the ideas, but maybe they will inspire you in a different way to do something different. But like that, you know, it's totally up to you. So here is the world, the 2 world page. And I'm going to cut it in half. Of course, it's 8 by 8, so each one is 4 inches wide, and I have made the dimensions of this journal, the bones of this journal, to be able to do that, to have just a small border and yet use the 4 by 8 page. I'm going to do, let me just check and make sure I've got my bearings right. Yes. Okay. I'm going to cut the globe right here. Right across here. Just like so. I'm cutting the globe. All right. I'm going to do a little inking. Now I'm only going to do the one side because the other side is identical to the idea on this one, only it'll be a little bit reversed. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to shore up this area here with a little bit of cardstock. So I'm going to glue like this area right here, kind of this upper area, to the cardstock here. Alrighty. And go back in and cut this all the way around as well, because this is going to form a pocket. And you know, you might not have to do this, it's just I like to reinforce areas I think that might get a lot of wear and tear. So this is what I'm doing, and you may want to skip that part. It's totally up to you. I'm just going to ink that down a little bit here. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue in this piece right here all the way in. Everything will get glued down. And this will help guide the rest of it. So I'm going to put this down right where it needs to be. There we go. Just like so. Now this is going to be the pocket, and it's going to get glued up right inside that cutaway. I'm going to glue it straight down here, straight across, and I'm only going to go up to maybe this clock. All right, so it's not going to be all the way on that side. So we're just going to glue here, glue the bottom, and just up a little bit here on the side. And we will place this right in that area. Okay, match it up. And I might have gone over a hair over this, but just very, very, very slightly. So now we have a pretty deep and full pocket, but make sure you allow that to dry before you play with it and put something inside. All right, And so this side will get the very same treatment, only you'll be, you know, cutting it. You'll cut it here, but you'll be gluing here, here, and up this way, and having that open flap area this way. So it's just a little different, but not too bad. Oh, it's upside down. This is why I'm getting confused. And that way, you got your little cute double spread, and you've got some pockets here. So that's what I did with those first two pages, and I will glue that in later. And we'll work on, and then I made tags, and I used some ledger paper. This is not vintage or anything, it's just ledger paper you can purchase, and put a tab on it. And so these are going to be then the tags that go inside. Or you might want to put photographs in there. You may want to make a photo mount to put in there. So those are a couple of ideas that you can do for that. I'm using the front page now and this design paper. I'm going to cut it in half, of course. 4 inches. I'm saving this side because I use this for other things. And I'm going to be using this side for the backing of the paper. Now I really want to get in here and get this dark, kind of dark grungy look, because I realized that there's a border here but not one here, so just try to match them up a little bit by making it a little less apparent that that's how it is. And this will be glued on right here. I think I need a little bit more inking, sorry about that. And so we're going to just put that in. Now you might want to consider the pattern on the other side, your brocade pattern. You might want to consider the direction of it. You know, and I would just choose the one you like the best. I feel this is going up. I don't know. I kind of like it this way than that way, but that's me, and you can just sit there and make the decision you like. That one goes down, and now I'm going to reach back here for this page that has all these really great clock faces on them. And I'm going to cut right here. I probably will cut up to the edge of this clock faces on this side. I'll cut right here up to that edge. All right, and this is going to be a belly band back here. Really liked this design. Thought it was pretty fun. So we'll put this in here, just like so. There we go. Get my clock faces right side up. Kind of hard because they're Roman numeral numbers, but this I felt was the 12. Yeah, here's the 12 on the clock. So I kind of wanted to get these facing up. Alrighty. Now we're going to move on to this side. And I'm going to go reach for so many great pages in here. I'm going to reach for this page. The only thing about Tim Holtz paper pads is sometimes they don't tear out cleanly, and you got to be really careful with it ripping the sheet that's connected to it. There we go. I'm going to take this here, and I'm going to initially cut it pretty close to these stacks. Yeah, pretty close to these stacks here. Come down at an angle. I'm going to come down this way, and I'm going to go around like this. Here. So I've cut this out. I've saved this little place right here. Okay, and the little tag up there. Right. And I'm going to glue this, well, no. Yes, I'm going to glue this to cardstock. Just my plain cardstock. Here. So I did something like this in the other Stamperia, their forest one. And thought it was a nice idea, and so I wanted to do it again. So we'll just glue this down like that. Right, so this is going to be too wide. I probably should have cut this before I glued it down. Sorry, I didn't. But let's just do this first. We'll get in here. And I like to use smaller scissors for this. And we're going to cut around these stacks. I'm going to, leave a little bit of the background, especially around some of these thinner ones. I have a feeling we're going to cut this off, but there we go. I just kind of want some things sticking up. And now I definitely want the front of this to be sticking out. So it looks like I'm going to be cutting, excuse me, right down. Let me look at my last one. Okay, I see what I did. All right. I'm actually going to be cutting this one off. That's what I did in the other one, because this is right in the area where I need to cut this off a little bit. So let me just make a mark there, and we'll just cut that down. So it's like in the middle of that stack. And I might turn that off a little bit there. And there we got a pocket. Very fun. Very, very fun. I like this. Okay, might have to take off a little bit more back here, but I can do that later. But you get the gist of that. Now for the background, I'm going to put in another printed page. For the background. And it'll be another torn page like we did for the front. This is vintage paper, so it's very brittle, which is nice because it actually tears pretty easy. But, all right, very nice, and I will do that off screen because you don't really need to know how to ink, right? So these are the first 2 pages of our journal, and then we will be making we got to make cards, of course, to fit into these places. But before we do that, these pockets, now there's going to be 3 of these pockets. So you'll want to cut cardstock for tags to fit in there. And these tags are going to be like this. And let me give you the measurement. I ended up making them 3.5 by 7 inches. So that was 3.5 by 7 inches. So that's what the dimensions of these tags were. And then I put in tabs. And we'll probably spend some time showing you how I pulled from the package to do some of these decorations down here. But that's what you're going to be needing. You'll need 3 of those. And then once you know where your tabs are at, then, like I say, it'll be easier to put on the ribbons and the closure and everything else. But we're just going to do that. I'll really quickly show you what I did for the tags that went in there. So I went around and kind of pulled out stuff from my stash that has, I felt would go good with Steampunk. So I have these rulers, and it's just a simple journaling card, and this is about 3.5 by 6. It's about 3.5 by 6, a little bit shorter than the other ones. And so that'll be one will go like that. And this is a map that I have, and I just got some cloth and put a couple of staples in there, and that will eventually be going inside there. I felt the map went really well with this traveling type of theme. So that's how far we've gotten today, and so I will, next time we get together, we're going to talk about doing the little journaling pads that we're going to have inside the spine pockets, and working on this little slip in and slip out frame so that you can put like a little photograph in there if you would like. Okay, so that's where we're going to go next time, and so thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.